we have to talk about artificial intelligence, and how we talk about it is quite difficult. I've been giving talks like the one you're going to hear now for about a year. It's sort of the same talk, but it gets better each time because I realize nobody understands what I'm trying to say. So this one, it's really simple. I'm talking about statistics and uncertainty, okay? Because, you suss it out. Some people are really for technology, others, the cool intellectuals, are really against, and you try to figure out which side I'm on. Don't even try. My position is, I don't know. And that's the trick. That's what I'm going to try and get across. That in a situation of uncertainty, and even deep uncertainty, such as we have now, it is still possible to act. That's the message, okay? Now, I was at a conference actually about 2 weeks ago, and up there were 4 really prestigious translation scholars who were asked the fundamental question, what do we do with translation, translator training, when AI translates? Generative artificial intelligence translates and translates pretty well. And they all agreed. Don't worry. Translation will always need the human. There's always literary. Never do that. The nuances. It can't think. It's not creative. They were so sure of their position. And they said, and the good thing is, translation studies, that is research on translation, can show this. So what we need now, more translation studies. And I was sitting there in the audience like you are now, shocked, horror, help. Why? Well, one, they just told researchers what they're supposed to find. Never do that. Research finds what it finds, not what you set out to find. Okay, that's why we need research. Yeah? And 2, they did that without citing any research. It's just an opinion. It's an intellectual opinion. It's so easy when you're an intellectual to say, oh, the machine will never be human. I'm so much better. Well, okay, prove it. Find out. And that's when you meet uncertainty, all right? So, yeah, the danger is that if you don't look at this technology, engage with it and test it and find out about it, you're sticking your head in the sand. And when you stick your head in the sand, you raise your ass to whatever the future may bring. Very dangerous activity. Now, Lynn Balker has talked in this cycle, and she knows more than anybody about this because she started the idea of machine translation literacy and has extended that into generative AI. This is from Lynn Balker, as you can see, and it's an iceberg. An iceberg is a wonderful metaphor because it says to the world, oh, look, there's these good things on top, these siren calls, come here, come here. But underneath, all these dangerous things are lurking. And I, as a serious intellectual, go deep-sea diving, and I can see what's under the water. It's also a metaphor for risk management. It says, look, the risks are greater than the benefits, so don't go there. But is that the message? That's sticking your head in the sand. Right? Now, my position is that for each of those things there, the bad things down below and the good things up top, for each of them, we don't know. There is uncertainty for each of them, and we have a debate afterwards. I will debate with any of you in any language you like, any of those things, to show we don't know. For example, up the top you have productivity gains. Productivity gains. That means you can have more output for less time, right? Yeah, in principle, any kind of automation gives you productivity. That's why we have automation. But there are empirical studies that show for a certain kind of text, for a certain kind of client, for a certain purpose, taking into account all the learning process, the application and correction of the technology, faster to translate from scratch and better quality. Okay? And productivity gain is always in relation to quality, gain or loss. So it's not a given. It depends on so many factors. More controversially, down below the water, where only experts can see, you've got problems of confidentiality, data theft, multinational companies taking the fruits of our intellectual labor and not giving us anything in return. All right, now, perhaps your teachers, I hope they've told you, I tell my students always, do not upload any confidential document, or a client's document in any case, to anything that's not on your computer. Do not upload it to the cloud. Because no matter how much, the company says, we will not do anything with your data, they will take your data. They need data. The whole thing runs on data. And you don't know where it goes. Okay, so that's there. It's two or three things under the water. I too tell my students that. Have you been told that? Yeah? Well, I'm thinking, that has been a problem since the days of translation memory software. Early 1990s, okay, a long time before you were born. People would say that, my translation is in a memory and the client's got my memory and that text can go anywhere. Yeah, that's right. That's what happens. Now, I went looking for court cases. It's been with us for 35 years, this problem. I said, well, okay, if there's data theft, okay, copyright infringement because of translation software, translation automation, there must be a court case somewhere. In 35 years of going through court cases, I have not found one. I've found translation companies going to court for data leaks, but that's just bad data management. It's not something that concerns the automation technology. There is uncertainty. I want to create and relay that uncertainty. However, think about it. Risk gains. If the risk is very high, and one of my students happens to upload your government's top secret military, or what was it, an invasion of Yemen, for example, and that comes out through the translation service, and there are disastrous consequences, hey, it comes back to me. I'll be responsible. So I keep telling them that. There is uncertainty, but the uncertainty is in relation to very high risk. Therefore, we act in a risk-averse way. Don't go there. Too risky. Okay? If you're into risk management, this goes back to Pascal, who used it to say, we're not sure of the existence of God, but the rewards are so great, you have to bet on it. Yeah? Okay. I'm using it in reverse, but yeah. Okay, now, that's for the iceberg. I don't think the iceberg is a really good metaphor. But let's play with it a bit, okay? Now, oops, there we go, somewhere, yep. On the top of the iceberg, you can see there's not very much. Now, I hope that in your work with the technology, you have discovered that generative artificial intelligence can translate, but it can do a whole lot of other things up the top there, okay? It's generative means it generates language. It's a tool for helping you to write better, and speak better, and interact with people better, and be more creative, okay? So up the top, what has automation done for us? Translation automation, more than just translation, okay? I'll just go through all these things that you can do with the technology. Lots of revision, lots of improvement, lots of checking. You can use it to have an English conversation, improve your English, of course, and check your text, etc. I'm not going to go through them all because I've got a whole lot of other stuff to do, but you can put a lot of stuff up the top of the iceberg, okay, which might balance it out a little bit. And our teaching and our exploration has to go through all these things, I think. I'm going to give you some examples later of activities I do in class where I tell my students, as I've told you, I don't know what you're going to find, but let's see what you find. Let's go out and see if it really helps you for all these things, okay? Different AI tools have different functions. So one, some of them, what are they trying to do? Alignment they're actually not very good at, but some are a lot better than others. Alignment is when you got your previous translations and you want to put them into a translation memory suite, okay? Another task I had recently, I was extracting email addresses from a huge document to send people a free copy of my book, and they all refused to do it, except for DeepSeek. The Chinese don't care about spam, but anyway, the Americans, yeah, so it worked. Now, what people are doing with any automation of translation is looking at the risks and looking at the benefits and considering the effort involved, all right? Now, those kinds of things people do practically. You don't sit down and do a calculation. You start off using machine translation and thinking, well, yeah, this looks good, I'll keep with it, trial and error, and you decide, yes, it's useful, genuinely useful. And I think you can do the calculation, but the calculation in the end is a feeling that you have when you're using that technology. Yes, I feel this is beneficial, because nothing bad has happened yet, for example. Now, machine translation started off being perceived as not very useful through to the ALPAC report, which said, hey, you know what, it's not useful. If we want Soviet rocket technology, which is what they wanted at the time, it's going to be more cost efficient to get our scientists to learn Russian than to use machine translation and correct that text. Okay, they did the calculation. Not very efficient. But then machine translation got better and it became perceived as being more useful by actual usage. That's how that grew up. Now, you can see that second line is for translation memory software, which I hope you've learned to use, but it comes from way back. And for all the period there, we had machine translation, we had translation memories, but translation memories were definitely more useful because the machine translation output was pretty rough. It was good for a gist, but not good for a controlled translation. All right? And you can see there what's happened is that our translation memory programs, for a long time now, incorporate machine translation. So those two technologies have come together. We have to map on a third wave of automation, generative artificial intelligence. This comes from research in natural language processing, which was around for a long time. They couldn't get anybody to use it, actually. They were telling doctors in the medical profession, oh, look, this will help you a whole lot. And they no, too difficult, too complicated, no, too risky. And then suddenly ChatGPT becomes the most downloaded app of all time in November 2022, and poof, and it hits the top, and that's the one that people perceive as being genuinely useful. Of course, what's happened is that the technology, the translation memory software that has incorporated machine translation now incorporates generative AI in various forms. In Trados, you have it as an input that you can control. And if you use MateCat, free translation memory software, it's got a beautiful little light bulb that gives you the meaning of a term in context in the target language. And that's really great fun. So just the point that the technologies have come together and are being perceived as useful through use. And I think that usage indicates a complex psychological calculation that's being made. At the same time, we know that this particular technology that we're playing with has bits of fire in it. If you want to play with fire, don't. This is a recent study. It's in journalism, actually. And they have citations, who said what when. They know who said what when. They ask the genAI system to tell it, and they found all that red. Now, what's scary here is that the red bits are not just wrong answers, but confident wrong answers. Like, You asked it again, and it said again. Yes, that's where the quote came from. Okay, this is an interesting comparison of different systems. I don't know if you can see there. The one that seems to come out better is this one, which is perplexity. So now you know. And that's the one you know about, ChatGPT over here. Okay, you can get a right answer, but hey, you can get a wrong answer too. And do you know which is which? Hey, not by looking at the language, because it's all so perfectly fluent. Okay, and this is one of the great risks of the technology. It will affirm things that are definitely wrong. References can be definitely wrong, but it will do so in a language that makes it difficult to tell. One of the great things about machine translation used to be, when it was wrong, it was crazy wrong. You know, that's why we have the term hallucinations. It was out left field. Good luck, interpreters. It was out of left field, interpreters. Yeah. Crazy wrong, interpreters. And compared with translation memories, which had fuzzy matches, and it was hard to tell what was wrong. Machine translation, you could tell what was wrong straight away. Now we're back to, there's no way of telling unless you know and check it. And so we have to get to this new regime of risk management where we know danger lies, but we can't really tell where. We have to be very, very alert. Here's an example of the benefits and pitfalls. What's it? Oh dear, it's in Catalan. I work in a Catalan-speaking university. You're going to learn some Catalan, ladies and gentlemen, okay? We did this in class. It's. Can you read it? I don't know. I'll read it out, okay? It's about a former Australian Prime Minister. Born in Kew, Melbourne in July 1916, Whitlam had come to Canberra with his father, the Deputy Crown Solicitor, in 1928. All right? Boring Australian history. GPT-3, we did this a long time ago. Translate. Fine. No problem. Okay? Yeah, no problem at all. Then we said, translate for a 12-year-old. Now, we did this because we'd done it in class, and we were trying to prove at the beginning that humans would do things that machines can't do. And we said, translate for a 12-year-old. Why? Because one of our students had translated this text and had realized that when Whitlam went to Canberra, he was 12 years old. So instead of saying he went there in 1928, it said when he was 12 years old. Whoa! You know, we were so impressed with the student translator who'd done this that we bet the machine wouldn't do it. Damn, it did it. It did it. Not all the time. Every second time it wouldn't do it. Okay. So this is wonderful adaptation of the text to that particular reader as indicated in the prompt. However, ladies and gentlemen, oh, wait a minute. Also, I mean, Deputy Crown Solicitor, how do you translate that? An important lawyer. Yeah, that's for a 12-year-old, that's good. Where's the mistake, though? You won't see it, but I've spent 7 years living in Kew. And I know it's not a city in Melbourne, it's a suburb. Okay? So explicitation here, trying to make the implicit Australian knowledge explicit in Catalan, gets it wrong. All right? It's a risk of all explicitation. You have to be really sure. Here it took a bet. The bet didn't pay off. So what have we got? 2 good things, 1 bad thing. Oh, check it. Same text. We asked it again, and here it was even smarter. You can see there, nascut a Kew, Melbourne, al estilo de 1916, means nacido en Kew, Melbourne, en el verano de 1916. 16. What's wrong here? Somebody? Thank you. Thank you. July in Melbourne is bloody cold. It's winter, it's not summer. Okay? So that they've tried to make it accessible and real and lived for this particular reader. Again, the more risks you take, the more chances there are you get it wrong, and it got it wrong. Okay? So there we go. Risk management. Now, the way I think about this risk management, given that there are plenty of intellectuals out there who say this is the end of humanity, the end of creativity, this technology is doing things and we don't know how it does it, which is true. And we don't know where it's going. Don't panic. Don't panic, but there is a big bit of rock out there, an asteroid, heading this way. And it's due to come this way in 2032. So get ready. But what are the chances it will hit Earth? Well, at one stage, 2.3%. I'm worried. 2.3%. This is the kind that got rid of the dinosaurs. 2.3%. Help. Then it went up to 3.1%. Real help. It's coming this way. The most recent statistic is it's 0.004%. What's happened? I mean, it has a trajectory. It's going to hit us or not hit us. But why do the percentages change? How can that be? Well, one is the universe is a complicated place. There are lots of moving parts. There's great complexity in it. And that different measurements will give contradictory results, and they have to be balanced. So the more measurements you get, the more exact the result is. That's a good thing. Okay? The other thing is there is deep uncertainty in the reliability of many of the measurements. I don't know if you're aware, but the Hubble telescope for many years had a major defect in it, and they had to calculate for the defect mathematically. Okay? So should we worry about this? Well, look, if it comes close, we do have the technology to deflect it, and you can send up, I don't think Bruce Willis is available anymore, but somebody can go up and we can deflect it. What do you do with it? Well, you keep getting observations, and you keep getting more numbers, and you keep getting more information so that the statistic gets better and better. Are we sure? No. Is there certainty? No. Will it be the end of humanity? Hey, there's a percentage. I think generative AI is like that. I don't want to deny the risk of algorithms that are giving results. We don't know how they get there. That is a risk. But do I think it's a major risk compared to the benefits? Don't know. Environmental risk as well. It uses huge amounts of energy compared to the previous technology. Major risk? Yeah, sure. What do we do? Keep finding out about it. Actually, I get asked about that a lot because I sort of say, yes, keep going, engage with, and people say, but the environment is destroying the planet, etc. And a lot of my thinking about uncertainty comes from climate debates, because there's no doubt that the planet is getting warmer, but there is lots of uncertainty about the causation models. And there are plenty of debates among scientists about calculating the relative certainty of human causation. Okay, it's not a sure thing. And there is deep uncertainty in many of the measurements that are taken. All right. My point in that debate is I work in the humanities. I could criticize people for using this technology because of environmental concerns. They're not particularly going to listen to me. My job is to make sure that when there's a cost-benefit model, that there's benefit. If we're using up energy, make sure it's for some social good. I can help the social good. Not a lot that I can do on the other side. Other people can do the other side. Okay? All right, and the technology, well, DeepSeek reportedly is less energy dependent. How do we react to uncertainty? You could just say business as usual. We got through neural machine translation. genAI is just another kind of automation. Nothing new on the horizon. Keep going. I don't think so. I don't think that's calculating the real risks that are there, okay? I was in Hong Kong last year talking about this same issue, and they announced, oh, we've got it fixed. We're going to give a master's in multilingual generative artificial intelligence. All the translation students will go over to working with AI. Very clever. And they get enrollments too. Why? Because the parents who are the people who pay for these masters, which are quite expensive, have doubts about translation. And they're right to have doubts about translation. And they think the future is going to be in the technology, so let's pay money for them to go over to that one. Just change the name of your faculty. You'll do fine. Keep the lovely building. Yeah? The Hong Kong model, Hong Kong Polytechnic, does it by an association with the Department of Computer Engineering. Beautiful, marriage made in heaven. Same teachers, same activities, same translation problems. Now we call it something different. What's wrong with that? I don't know. Look, it probably works very well, but my experience is, I'll tell you what, I had a doctoral program in Tarragona in translation studies. Lots of money. This was back in the Zapatero days when there was lots of money. And we had another doctoral program in natural language processing. That's how I know that line comes from there. All the mathematicians were over there. And we had a session together. We had 20 doctoral students over there and 20 translation doctoral students. You know, let's talk about what's happening in the technology. We had Gideon Turi was there, for example, as well. Nothing to talk about. They're doing mathematics. We don't understand the mathematics. We can tell them if their results are good or bad, but they don't care because their evaluation model needs a reference human translation, and once that's fixed, that's all they want to know. It was a diálogo de sordos. Yeah? It just didn't happen. It's mathematics, folks. It's not going to happen. We're working on the human relations, on the language relations. Gideon Turi said, everything's interesting, but I didn't understand it. There you go. Okay. All right, let's move on. I'm going to give you some practical examples of what we do. This is from a book you don't have to buy. That's my flamante compañera in Melbourne, Yu Hao, who co-wrote with me. And you don't have to buy it because the only important chapter is number 5, which is free from Routledge. In that book, we got down and looked at all the activities we were doing with machine translation before coming to, and translation memories, okay, before coming to genAI. And then we tried to integrate it. And then we also looked at language learning for reasons that I'll leave to the side for the moment, okay? And from that, we developed a list of learning outcomes. We work a lot from a wonderful book by Dorothy Kelly from this faculty on translator training, you know, how to teach translation or something, it's called like that. So using that, we came up with this list of 4 columns, 4 different kinds of learning outcomes, the things that students should know or be able to do at the end of a particular activity, lesson, course, program, okay? What's interesting is that this way we produce a kind of smorgasbord of many, many different things. And we say, this is what you can do, and we're going to show you the activities that develop all these things. And you, in your training program, decide your needs. This is pure Dorothy Kelly. Do your needs analysis, decide what the objectives are, and then you take your pick. This is a smorgasbord. Okay, pick whatever suits you for your particular level of students, language, etc. Okay, what I'm getting at, it's not a model of translation competence because I don't think there is a unified model of translation. There's a model, but practice of translation competence. Interesting argument to have these days in translation studies. This is a list of learning outcomes. Okay, and the red ones are the ones you can use generative AI for. Lots. Not all, just lots. 57 activities. Number one, don't ignore technology. You can't just turn your back on it and hope it'll go away. It's not going to go away. Number two, do not try to teach. This is for teachers, okay? Sorry, students. Do not try to teach things you don't understand. I do not understand how the vector mathematics works within generative AI models. I know it's vectors, I know they're numbers, I know they have probabilistic relations in a multidimensional space, 52 dimensions. I can't conceptualize that. I don't try to teach it. I asked my students to go out and find, and somebody report to me, see if they can find out better than me. Do not let everybody hand in an automated translation, because they'll all hand in the same thing, and they won't learn anything, and you won't mark anything. So what are we doing, huh? Except on day one. Sorry, this sounds like Donald Trump, but except on day one. I'll show you day one. Here's an activity I use on day one, master's level, I must admit. Why masters? Because to get into the masters, they all have to present a CV in a European model. So we have all these CVs, all the same, more or less. And they have to get genAI to write an application letter for the same job using their CV. So they upload, write a job application letter, upload your CV, and upload the job. Okay? What are you going to do? You're going to find out how to write a job application letter in English. Really good lesson. Eh? What's wrong with it? Well, then we make the class become the companies, and they have to choose who gets the job. So you get these application letters. What do? What are you going to find? You're going to get 5 application letters, all the same, all sounding the same. Okay, what is this telling us? It's telling us that if people rely on genAI, you will lose your personal voice. You will lose the thing that will get you that job. The one who gets the job is the one who does something different. Okay, I don't know if I've got it here. Let's see what's on the next slide. Yes. So this is from the real case. It also cheats. I mean, we all cheat, right? We all cheat in those letters. But it cheats in the same way for everybody. So all those students were enrolled in a master's, but they hadn't completed it. In all the letters, they'd already completed it. Yeah? It always goes to what sounds the best or is the most probable. To be halfway through is less statistically frequent in the database, therefore fudged. You lost your job. You lied. You relied on the... Oh, shit! Whoa! Oh! I'm sorry, how do I control the sound? Yeah, got it. I got it. Oh. All right, this is for you. You're going to work now. Okay. Do you like quizzes? All right, you've got a text up there. I don't know if you can see it. In Spanish, determinar la ubicación de los trenes en una estación. Es una habilidad de experto. My Spanish is horrible. Sorry, but that's it. You've got 3, I'll turn it down here. 3 possible translations, okay? Pick the human. I'll just do the first sentence. Translation A. Determining the placement of trains in a station is an expert skill. Translation B. It takes an expert to position trains in a railway station. C. Defining the positioning of trains in a station requires the know-how of an expert. Who says A is human? Who says B is human? Who says C is human? Who has no idea? Hey, welcome to the real world we live in. Okay, now, hold on, let me see. Congratulations, you got it. All right, I'm adapting this from an article by Chris Durbin. You've got the reference down there. And these are where the translations came from. Chris Durbin has a translation company in Paris. She specializes in financial institutions, and she charges reportedly here 60 cents a word I don't know how much you charge per word, do you? I might be around 15 if I'm very lucky. 60, okay. Very expensive translation, so whoa. But can you pick it? I mean, before you could, because she has her own style of presenting things as being very engaging, etc. Nowadays, it's getting very difficult, as we just saw. Try again. Do you want another one? No. Yes? All right, here we go. Okay, Spanish. Nuestra solución es también una herramienta de investigación. Okay, it's software for organizing trains in the station. Herramienta de investigación. What the heck? You can also use our solution to quickly simulate a wide range of potential works. A. B. Our solution is also a powerful analysis tool. C. Our cutting-edge solution doubles as a powerful analysis tool. Which one? A is human? B, yes, A, very good. B is human? Excellent. 60 cents a word. You got to get a good translation for this, eh? C is human. Nobody knows. Okay. Divided opinions. Okay, the giveaway was cutting edge, which is sort of not used at that level of expertise. Yeah, okay. It really doesn't stand out particularly. You got the solutions there. What I'm trying to indicate is that when Chris wrote that article, she was revising human translators who were translating very literally. And it was easy for her to show how a bit of style and adaptation can sell vital communication to a company that's going to pay for it, okay? That was easy. It's no longer easy because the technology can come very close to it and you guys can't tell. Some of you got it right, but it's very hard. So we have to rethink. Now, Chris Durbin's answer is she still charges that amount because she knows the companies very well. She's inside discussing it in their marketing campaigns. She can talk about how the actual ST, the original text, is written, and she becomes a communication expert. All right? That's one possible way of reciting your expertise. Other activities. I'll just go through some things we do in class. I don't know how much time we have, so we'll no time. Well, 5 minutes. I'll go through really quickly, just some ideas. This site, machinetranslation.com, enables you to compare up to 12 genAI tools and NMT tools, neural machine translation. Okay? Really useful for showing that they all give different results, and they'll give different results even if you try with the same prompt. The inherent variability of translation is a very interesting finding, and I would hope that this becomes known in our societies. How do I hope this? I think that using this technology should be not just in translator training, but in all language learning. Foreign language, English classes. What does everybody do? They're all using it now to cheat. So get them to use it to find out about how to do it well. Okay, not cheat well, but how to use it well. And one of the things you're going to discover socially is that translation is inherently variable. Therefore, every translation could be different. Therefore, to get expertise in communication, you might want to see a human. Okay, so there's points there. It also has interesting indications for how to use prompts, but I'll go through that quickly. Tarragona is Touristlandia, like Tarragona, or like Granada perhaps. Use an elaborate prompt to ask genAI to retranslate a tourist text from a local website. Local website written for tourists in English, Catalan, Spanish to English. Rewrite it, improve it, okay? And then in the same conversation, it'll do a literalist translation. Then in the same prompt, add details to make the appeal even greater, okay? So we did that. We did that last week, actually, in class. One of them said, Cambrils has miles of beautiful, clean beaches. Nice. 3 prompts later, come to Cambrils where the Mediterranean whispers your name. Like, wow, yeah, yeah. No, don't tell us it's not creative. It's wonderfully creative. Okay. Now, the interesting thing was we did that, and then the translations went to a different group. I always have groups in the class. And the other group has to reverse engineer. They have to work with the tool, writing different prompts to produce the same text. Okay, so they're trying to find the prompts that the other group used. Do you think they can do it? They come close. Nobody. I mean, they really wanted to. They wanted to stay in the class. I'll get there. I'll get there. Impossible. Impossible. This is the unknown part of the technology. This is where the decisions are so complex. You go from A to B. You're not going to go from B back to A. It's not going to happen. Okay, very valuable lesson, very fun lesson too, because they discover the effects of prompts, and that's the new art that we have to incorporate into our production. I might even finish after this example. This is from the village where I have a house. Sometimes I live there. The Spanish is boring. Gracias a su situación geográfica privilegiada, el pueblo cuenta con numerosos servicios como. All right? Yeah, well. Deep L, thanks to its privileged geographical location, the village has many services, such as boring. Gemini, is it still called Gemini? Yeah, that's Gemini. Thanks to its privileged geographical location, the village has many services. It's the same bloody thing. So, the technology can be no different at all. But I can say to Gemini, translate for tourists. Aha. Nestled in a prime location. Calafate, it has a name. Calafate boasts a wide range of services and offers a multitude of unexpected discoveries. Now you want to go, don't you? Yeah? Come to my village. You get, yeah. Now, it's the same thing as the Q example, all right. Nestled is like that. That's a Swiss village nestled in a valley. The Nido, yeah? Nestled. My village is on the top of a hill. So if you come, your unexpected discovery will be, it's not nestled, it's on top of a hill. Okay, check it, check everything. I'll go through, no, I won't, there's lots of stuff here. We've been doing work on, I'll just mention this one, emergency text, emergency warning text. Basic projects in Australia has lots of, bushfires, sharks, spiders, earthquakes. We have earthquakes too. This was an earthquake, and we got GPT in this case to do a translation. It had mistakes. Then we said, list all the best practices for emergency texts in Spanish for Spain. Long list of factors. Now use those features to revise your previous translation. Beautiful translation. Okay, what are we doing? Complex prompt, don't write it yourself, get the technology to write it for you, which is what we did there. Beautiful translation, but there were still some things that could have killed people. So high risk, still has to be checked, okay? What was interesting though was we did that experiment in Tarragona with Spanish speakers, and in Melbourne with Chinese speakers. Our masters there is all in Chinese. And we asked the students at the beginning, I won't go through that, at the beginning of the experiment, do you think GPT revises better or worse than you? And then at the end of the experiment, same question. So we're seeing, what do they think about the technology? And has the experiment influenced their opinions of the technology? Okay. Now, what's interesting here is that the Chinese at the beginning, the blue is the before, thought it would be better than them. They loved technology. They think, oh, I'm going to learn, my English isn't so good, it'll take... The Spanish, Catalan, guys we've got, they're the opposite. It'll be worse than me. I'm a human. I'm much better. You know. And then they shifted, okay? So the Chinese did the experiment and were disappointed. They moved down. The Spanish did the experiment and were pleasantly surprised. They actually learned some things from this activity. They had to revise the text, and then they compared their revision with the GPT revision and saw that in many cases it spotted things that they should have seen. Okay, and that was the main result. But for teachers, the important point here is that how you teach this technology has to not only play with the uncertainties, but play with the expectations, which are also the perceived certainties. Different groups have different starting positions and will get different kinds of information from engagement in the activity. And the aim is to move them, this is Bayesian, but the red is where you start. The green is the actual distribution of data as if we knew it. And the aim is to move the students from their starting position to a point where their beliefs are more in tune with the data available at the time. Okay? The data available at the time in 2023 on the hype curve put generative AI at the top. Hype means it's really good or it's really bad. We're going to talk about it. Yeah? 2024, generative AI is on the way down, heading towards the trough of disillusionment. This is a pattern for the introduction of new technologies. People talk it up, they think it's going to solve all the world's problems. Global capitalism has been at a standstill for about 20 years. It needs something to jolt it. Lots of talk about this, lots of hope it will revitalize our economies. It's hard to integrate any new technology. The hype is very good or very bad, very hard. That's why it's moving down now. That's why I'm losing lots of money in my investments, but I took the money out. And what's going to happen, though, is as a prediction on this curve, not my prediction, but the people who study introduction to new technologies, is that it will fall out of favor and then come back, and the result will be a structural change. Your starting point at the end is well above, no, your finishing point is well above where you started. I'm pretty sure myself there will be structural change. You're not going to get paid a lot of money for translating sentences. Machines will be able to do that quite well. You will get paid some money for checking, verifying, consulting, organizing campaigns, doing marketing, mix that in with it, or going the side of the technology and controlling and developing the technology. But sentence level replacement, we're looking at 3 years from now, okay? When we go down and it comes back, sentence level replacement will be done by the technology. Sorry to end on that note, but that's what I do think. I welcome your questions.
Thank you so much for your enlightening, interesting talk. Voy a hablar en español ahora para dar la palabra a cualquiera del público, estudiantes o profesores que quieran hacer una pregunta, o en español o en inglés. Any questions?
I shouldn't have finished that way, I'm sorry. Let me reiterate, I don't know. Okay, I don't know, I'm finding out bit by bit. Yes, please.
Thank you for the very comprehensive talk and promoting debate at the stage we are at. Yeah? I have many questions. I'll stick to one. Based on your analysis of the current research on AI, generative AI and translation, and the initial PowerPoint by, the initial slide by Lynn Boker, I had the honor to have here as well a month ago. I have the feeling, and I'm mostly sure wrong, that research on AI and translation is quite biased towards the technology. That is not so, you can say neutral, but trying to look for neutrality is, when you have all the market forces driven at you, at us, that, we have to be efficient, we have to be, accommodate the market, otherwise we disappear. When you have fear there, research stops taking a distance, and therefore it just aligns with the train, But that's my perception. So what is yours, and what is probably more objective and data?
It's a very good question, and it concerns basic epistemology. I do not think there is any neutral research. There is no neutral research. We all start with motivation. Otherwise, you don't do it. You're not going to, if you're doing, work at whatever level, from a doctorate through, you really want to find something. And I think, yes, the research done by the companies who are developing it obviously wants to find how good it is and how it can get better. Research presented on some translation companies' website is very interesting because they put together all the mistakes. I've shown you mistakes here. And you can put them together and they give a list of all the types of mistakes. And that's on the front of their website telling their clients, here are the real risks. That's also research, motivated with a commercial thing in mind, okay? For me, the important thing is to set up a research project in such a way that your initial hopes can be defeated, be it for or against the technology. Yeah? You've got to let this thing, falsification in terms of Popper, you've got to let the project falsify your initial hypothesis. If not, you're just, repeating your desires, which many of us are. Okay? Does that answer the question? There's plenty of studies around. Unfortunately, very few studies are actually linguistic at the moment. There's plenty of studies on what people think, what translators think, what employers think, etc. And they're pretty scary, because how the hell would those people know? All right. One I just looked at was one from the Society of Authors, very big study. And another one, it was on the Libro Iberoamericano. It was about book production in Latin America. And both of them had really scary things, like above 85% people think this must be controlled and regulated because it's a danger to us, okay? And then I look at the data, and under 50% had actually used any technology. So it's really easy to be scared of a technology if you've never touched it, because you believe all the stuff people say about it. So, that's not real research. If you're reporting the opinions of people who don't know, why? Why bother? Yeah. Okay, there we go.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I should declare, came out November 2022, January, February 2023. We were starting with my colleagues in Melbourne. That's where we have the Chinese and the Spanish and the stuff. And my first reaction was, oh, this is a good tool. Oh, can it translate? Let's see. Oh, shit. It can translate. And it took us about a month to catalog the errors, to really locate the errors and calculate the degrees and then calculate the prompts. The initial reaction, my reaction was, oh no, this is the end. I dedicated 40 years of my life to a profession which has just been wiped out. And it took a month of research to see, no, it's not doing it. There are the holes. There are, the human thing is necessary, but there and there. Yeah? Translation companies in Melbourne, where we were doing this research with, used COVID to change their whole business model. They marketed themselves, they became marketing companies. They go to the government programs and say, we will survey a language community. Melbourne has more than 270 languages at home. we'll survey a language community, we'll see what they want, see what they think, write the text, then test the text and see how they work. And their marketing translations, yes, but a whole lot of cultural advice and marketing expertise along with it. And I find that a very interesting way to go with the technology. Okay.
I have a question. Well, I have two questions. What is your perception about the real current use of generative AI in the industry? Because, of course, this is like a revolution. This is, we all perceive it as much more useful as regular neural machine translation for creative tasks. But in the real industrial scenarios, I have the impression, just based on the people I know working in the industry, they still work with machine translation, neural machine translation. And so their workflow in their daily lives have not changed as much, but their perception on the threat of generative AI is real. So they have the impression their living conditions are getting poorer, but their use of generative AI is not that clear, at least from what they tell me. At the same time, since I teach translation technologies, I've been testing the new functionalities where generative AI has been integrated, and for example, MakeCat is, I like that functionality because it's based on the construction of encyclopedic knowledge, which I like. But for example, the way in which Stratos Studio has integrated it, I think most of, at least my translator friends, don't use it because it's like another distractor. So, yeah, what's your perception on how it is integrated in the real industrial sector? Okay. And if you think that there will be new creative ways of integrating that within the tools, or if we are just abandoning translation memories, or yeah, so some more predictions.
Okay, I'm not in industry, I'm an academic. My knowledge of these things is through where my students go, and I hear back through them, and through the European industry surveys, which come out every year. The recent one that came out for 2025 definitely shows that companies say they are integrating AI along with machine translation, okay? How they're doing it remains a bit of a mystery, and what was intriguing was that they also do, part of the survey is what we are doing in training. We're doing it more than they are, which is intriguing. The other thing is that the bigger the company, the bigger the investment in the technologies, but we don't know exactly what the returns on the investment are, okay? And the frightening thing is that income is going down for freelancers, small companies, and going up for big companies. So the cause and effect is mysterious. That's, the report just gives you numbers, what people say. We do know that people say they're integrating AI. These are the people who are also making money, but it could be that they've made the money, so they've got the money to invest in how to use the AI. Okay, the cause and effect is still mysterious. I don't like Trados, punto. And the integration, in a tab, and you've got to put in a Trados. It's not nice, but it never was user-friendly. I teach and use phrase a lot, and they say they're doing things with AI, but there's lots of slippery terminology around because, strictly speaking, machine translation is artificial intelligence. So you got, people say, oh yeah, we're using AI. I use, what was it? In the South American survey, do you use AI? And then it gives a list of the things that they call AI. One of them is Grammarly. You use Grammarly to, hey, yeah, okay, that's AI, all right. Yeah. So you've got to watch what they're really talking about. I did write an article. It's actually an abstract for a conference presentation called The End of Translation Studies as We Know It. And that article argues that the hype around the technology could kill us. Could kill us. There's people hear so much stuff that parents will not pay for people to come and study translation and interpreting. And in 2024, enrollments all over the world, I don't know here, but the trend is negative, except in Melbourne. But and then Tarragona, is getting hard. Some places do very well, of course, with prestige, but there is a downward trend, and that has to do with public perception, not with the actual reality of the technology. So I think we have to wage some kind of campaign about public perception.
Definitely. Thank you. I have another question, but I will let other people ask. I will come back.
It's good, it's working.
Thank you for your inspiring lecture.
It was working.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I was saying thank you for your inspiring lecture. It's a pleasure to have you here. And I think I'm going to switch to Spanish so that interpreters can have some, fun there.
Yo también, mira, yo sí.
Aquí en la Universidad de Granada tenemos un servicio de traducción institucional en donde utilizamos las nuevas tecnologías, entre comillas, memorias de traducción, trados, MakeCut, DeepL. Nuestra experiencia es que, efectivamente, nuestra experiencia diaria con nuestro tipo de texto, que es un tipo de texto institucional, políticas institucionales, estrategias institucionales, textos que pueden ir desde certificados para estudiantes, notas, traducciones de informes para estudiantes, un largo etcétera. Claro, nuestra experiencia es que en este punto del avance de la tecnología lo que mejor funciona...
No funciona el micro.
¿Qué pasa? Aquí.
Bueno.
Lo que mejor funciona para nosotros en este momento sigue siendo DeepL, porque para este tipo de texto. Entonces creo que aquí es muy importante también la tipología de texto de la que estemos hablando, porque, por ejemplo, los textos que hemos visto aquí sobre turismo quizás son más, esperas algo más atractivo para ese posible cliente, ¿no? Pero en el tipo de textos que nosotros manejamos no podemos permitirnos esa creatividad que daría el prompt de GPT cuando le damos un prompt y le damos otro y empieza a ponerse creativo en el sentido de usar estas palabras como boost y cosas así, que en nuestro contexto tiene que estar bastante más controlado y tener un registro más formal, más institucional, más cercano al texto origen. Entonces, nosotros sí que utilizamos el write después de utilizar el DeepL para, hacer ciertas mejoras, pero aún no nos sirve el ChatGPT precisamente porque se distancia mucho y esa revisión, posedición posterior nos hace perder un tiempo que no nos viene bien. Entonces, vamos usándolo todo, pero vamos viendo que la tipología de texto es definitiva para el uso de estas herramientas también.
Muy bien.
Una reflexión.
Sí. Hemos hecho, un estudiante ha hecho una encuesta de nuestros alumnos de Facultad de Letras y Ingeniería, ¿no? Comparando. Y la pregunta era que utilizas estas herramientas y cuál utilizas, ¿no? Y hay DeepL, hay Google Translate y GPT y lo que sea, ¿no? Gemini también. La mayoría de los estudiantes han puesto Google Translate. Luego, pregunta, ¿por qué? Porque no les gusta escribir un prompt. Demasiado trabajo. Son perezosos a tope. Okay. Vale, pero sí, quieren un quick fix, una traducción rápida para una cosa, los de ingeniería sobre todo, Google Translator da, DeepL mejor, pero un poco complicado con la interfaz de esto y tal. Dámelo simple y rápido, ¿no? Me molesta porque así no saben que la traducción es variable, ¿no? Pero entiendo por qué es eficaz, ¿no? Y sirve. Nuestro servicio lingüístico tiene, bueno, es parecido, parece. ¿Tenemos turismo? Sí, pero la facultad, la universidad, tenemos una enorme facultad de química, petroquímica. Todo el petróleo de este país pasa por Tarragona. Okay, bueno. Y estos textos no entiendo yo, nada. Pero se puede traducir, estamos traduciendo, porque durante 30 años hemos utilizado memorias de instrucción. Al principio era déjà vu y ahora hemos pasado a otra cosa. Entonces, las memorias que hemos creado con 30 años son muy, muy avanzados. Y tenemos memorias para cada disciplina y subdisciplina. Ahora, estos datos, estos bitextos, ¿no? La memoria de instrucción se puede utilizar en genAI. What the hell is it? Inteligencia artificial generativa. Se puede utilizar estos datos, ¿no? Para mejorar el sistema. Y el futuro, para mí, no es el DeepL, porque no estás aprovechando de las memorias que hemos creado. Que para las disciplinas científicas, esto es el oro. Eso es lo que más valor tiene.
Sí, claro, efectivamente nosotros no utilizamos solo DeepL, es otra herramienta adicional que probamos. Fundamentalmente nosotros utilizamos Trados, o sea,
sí,
nuestras memorias están ahí alojadas, sí, pero combinamos tecnologías y vamos haciendo pruebas, ¿no? Sí, entonces, en este momento, el traductor automático que mejor resultado nos da sigue siendo DeepL, para nuestra tipología textual.
He estado estudiando servicios de tiempo, de previsión meteorológica, que empezaron en Canadá en el 67. Era la primera aplicación exitosa de la traducción automática, pero era rule-based y solo hacía el 80% de las frases y el 20% humano. Pero a principios de 2005 por ahí, han visto que con los años hemos creado estas traducciones que son válidas. Base de datos entra en el sistema y se mejora con la traducción automática estadística de maravilla. Ahora, el servicio en Estados Unidos han pasado, nacional, ¿no?, de todo el país, Lilt, la empresa Lilt ha pasado 2 años en construir un sistema de genAI para la previsión de desastres meteorológicos, sobre todo en chino o español, por esto me interesa. 2 años para construir este base de datos, pero ya existía. ¿Por qué hacerlo con la nueva tecnología? Porque estas previsiones son frases, siempre los mismos verbos, etc. Ideal para la traducción automática. ¿Por qué invertir 2 años de investigación para este sistema? No lo sé. Lo raro es que lo han hecho, hay una web ahí, entras tu idioma, el producto que quieres, las notificaciones, los avisos que quieres recibir, perfecto. Todo anulado en marzo, un mes después de que Trump ha declarado inglés el idioma oficial y quien necesita traducciones. Okay. Vale, bueno, solo una anécdota.
Gracias,
Vale.
Hola, ¿se me escucha? Vale. Bueno, en primer lugar, muchas gracias por la conferencia. Me ha parecido muy interesante. Yo quería preguntarte si existen estudios que aborden la percepción de los usuarios de traducción automática y si esa percepción, si es el caso, varía en función de diferentes parámetros, como por ejemplo el puesto, el trabajo que ocupa, el rango social, Esa es mi pregunta, básicamente.
No conozco. No sé. Pero, ¿protección de usuarios en qué sentido?
No, perdona, me expreso mal. La percepción.
¿La percepción?
Sí, o sea...
Sí.
Si yo, por ejemplo, si hay personas que perciben el uso de traducción automática de una forma o de otra.
Sí, que hay muchos estudios.
Vale.
Es lo que hemos hecho aquí en este experimento,
Sí.
preguntando al principio qué percepción tienes.
Sí.
¿no?
¿Y esa percepción varía en función de diferentes, parámetros? ¿En función de la persona o...?
No conozco ninguno que
Vale.
haga este análisis, pero una cosa importante es que esta tecnología, sobre todo la genAI, solo funciona muy bien para idiomas con muchos recursos electrónicos.
Vale.
Pequeños idiomas, olvídatelo.
Vale.
Y la traducción automática funciona mejor para irlandés. Mi colega es de Armenia, armeniano, nada, no hay manera, ¿no? O sea, depende mucho de los tamaños de la lengua, de hablantes de la lengua, claro, y recursos electrónicos.
Vale.
Esto es el criterio más importante,
vale,
hoy día.
Muchas gracias por la presentación. Quería hacer una pregunta relacionada con los estudios de traducción como disciplina académica. Ha empezado usted diciendo que hacía falta more translation studies. Hemos estado hablando de las tendencias o del impacto que puede tener tanto en la industria profesional como en la docencia o en los centros formativos, la pierna de la docencia de las facultades. Este impacto, ¿qué impacto cree que puede tener en los estudios de traducción? Ya hemos comentado, lo ha comentado usted, que es imposible, por ejemplo, tener un modelo de competencia único que lo pueda explicar todo. En la unidad de la disciplina lleva siendo un debate desde hace 20, 25 años. ¿Cree que esto puede ser una oportunidad para que se acepte que hay una pluralidad de modelos de epistemología o cree directamente que se va a diluir, dado que el objeto de estudio se está convirtiendo, por así decirlo, en un moving target?
No sé si he entendido muy bien. Primero, no me interesa mucho la traductología o estudios de traducción como disciplina. Me interesa buscar soluciones para problemas donde haya, ¿no? Y no me importa ir por la sociología o análisis de riesgos y estas cosas. Me da un bledo si es traductoría o no. Segundo, sí que han dicho que hace falta más estudios de traducción para tener impacto sobre el público. Pero francamente, ¿qué impacto? Tenemos pocos vías de contacto. Intento hacerlo, ¿no? Escribo cosas para la prensa y tal, o entrevistas y tal, pero poco impacto. No hemos hecho este trabajo muy bien. Lo que asusta es que, por ejemplo, en Francia hay un informe muy largo de la Asociación de Traductores reclamando, no en contra de la tecnología, pero reclamando transparencia. Y claro, ¿quién no puede ser a favor de la transparencia, ¿no? Pero toda su imagen de lo que es la inteligencia artificial generativa se basa en un estudio de la traducción automática. O sea, están mezclando tecnologías. Y este estudio que he localizado utilizaba 5 estudiantes, comparando cómo he traducido con o sin traducción automática. Y un ejemplo. Es que no puedes basar una posición política sobre un estudio de 5 estudiantes. Pero es así que se manipula la investigación, ¿vale? Bueno, no sé si es me interesa cada vez menos la disciplina.
Sirve como respuesta. Gracias.
Aprovecho entonces para hacer mi segunda pregunta. Independientemente de la disciplina como, pues, en fin, la traductología o la reflexión teórica al respecto, la parte práctica académica, me gustaría preguntarle En relación con los ejercicios que ha presentado, me han gustado mucho, me parecen ejercicios muy sencillos pero muy completos que pueden dar una visión y construir un espíritu crítico a los alumnos para comparar el uso de recursos, para ver qué grandes cualidades tiene la generativa, pero también qué grandes alucinaciones puede cometer. Me ha encantado el ejemplo del Nesu. Entonces, bueno, creo que efectivamente es la manera de integrar con ejercicios de ese tipo, integrar estas nuevas tecnologías en la formación de los estudiantes de forma crítica y empírica, ¿no? Demostrándoles constantemente dónde sí y dónde no. No diciendo prohibimos su uso o usadlo como queráis y libremente, porque entonces también podemos incurrir en el error de dejarlos entender la tecnología de una manera inadecuada. Entonces, me han gustado mucho los ejercicios, pero he entendido que han sido en el marco del máster. Entonces, mi pregunta es, ¿cree usted que deberíamos hacer ese mismo tipo de ejercicios en los grados de traducción e interpretación desde el principio, desde el primer año? O sea, yo tengo grandes dudas porque yo me siento muy afortunada cada día más de haber nacido cuando nací y haber aprendido a traducir primero de una forma, haber tenido contacto con el diccionario en papel y luego haber ido incorporando otro tipo de tecnología. Entonces, me surge la duda de, ¿es recomendable desde el primer año exponer a los estudiantes a este tipo de tecnología? ¿Habría que hacer una distribución cronológica a lo largo de los estudios de grado y máster específica? Bueno, evidentemente comprendería que no tuviera la respuesta, pero si tiene alguna opinión al respecto, creo que es el momento de debatir sobre, sobre el futuro de ya no tanto de la disciplina como de los planes de estudio, ¿no? Gracias.
¿Te gusta traducir sobre papel? ¿Tienes buena letra? Yo fatal, ¿eh? Yo no puedo ya. que yo no, físicamente. Y me acuerdo, sí, hace no tanto, que examiné sobre papel y la letra y leer esto, no me gusta nada. Pues, mira, trabajo a nivel de máster y de grado. Y creo que sí que hay que enseñar la utilización de esta tecnología, bueno, experimentar, pero no perdiendo de vista, no hay que perder de vista la traducción unaided, sin ayuda, ¿no? Esta mañana mi clase en Tarragona, que es de grado de tercer curso, tienen subtítulos, tienen que traducir el script, The Big Bang Theory, a mano. Luego, utilizan MateSub para traducir los subtítulos con la Modern MT, con la traducción automática, ¿no? MateSub tiene la integración de traducción automática. Y comparar lo que han hecho ellos con lo que hace la tecnología. Bueno, van a aprender, van a preferir, no sé si la preferencia será para lo que habían hecho antes, pero la última pregunta es, en el futuro, ¿cómo vas a traducir subtítulos? Y todos van a decir con MateSub, ¿no? Porque lo pueden hacer, pero bueno. Eso es cultivar el espíritu crítico, con comparar lo que has hecho tú sin ayuda, lo que se hace con ayuda, para descubrir. Lo que me molesta es una idea de critical thinking que es que parte de la posición de la tecnología es mala. Eso no es critical thinking, esto es ideología académica.
Exactamente. Sí, lo tienen que comprobar por ellos mismos y decidir ellos qué es lo que realmente opinan, no que se lo impongamos. ¿Y son los alumnos abiertos a seguir trabajando de forma unaided o hacen trampa?
Sí. Sí. No, pero a ver cómo contestan. No sé, es que mi colega hace la clase esta mañana, ahora mismo están acabando, a ver cómo contestan a la pregunta. En años anteriores, sí, dicen, utilizo la tecnología, pero pensando.
Muy bien, muchas gracias. ¿Alguna otra pregunta? Hombre, Tomás, yo te estaba echando de menos.
Bueno, muchas gracias. Yo voy un poquillo por el mismo hilo que Pilar Y claro, o sea, al final, y lo que aumenta también la compañera, la tipología, tenemos que ver un poquillo en qué contextos sí, en qué contextos no y cómo aprender a utilizarlo. Y ahí, por eso un poco creo que también el hilo de la pregunta de máster o grado y cuándo incorporarlo y si hay que saber traducir antes que editar lo que es la máquina y tal. Pero también mi pregunta va un poco, o sea, sí que tenemos que educar a la gente que va a traducir en el futuro, pero ¿cómo educamos también a los clientes? En el sentido de, esta tecnología está por todas partes, antes hemos visto ejemplos perfectos de, está perfectamente redactado, pero tiene errores. Nosotros somos, entre comillas, más capaces de detectar esos errores porque sabemos qué cosas no habríamos incluido ahí, que se ha incluido en la máquina y viceversa, pero cómo podemos en ese sentido educar a los clientes para que sigan confiando y sobre todo contratando los servicios de traductores humanos, utilicen o no la tecnología en mayor o menor parte. No sé si me he explicado bien.
Pero la frase educar al cliente presupone que tenemos la verdad. Y yo no tengo esta verdad. No puedo educar. Yo puedo demostrar, como hacen empresas, algunas empresas, mira, estos son los errores que salen de la inteligencia artificial. Esto es educar y la conclusión es que necesitas un elemento humano en la producción, ¿no? Pero personalmente no creo que podemos continuar con business as usual. Tenemos nosotros que aprender a ofrecer servicios más completos, más interacción con el cliente, más implicación en las campañas de comunicación. Traducir la frase ya lo hace bien la máquina. Podemos nosotros corregir, sí, esto sí. Pero no tengo esta verdad para educar a nadie. Lo siento.
Gracias.
¿Más preguntas?
Bueno, primero de todo, muchas gracias. Y yo siguiendo un poco el hilo de ambos compañeros, sobre todo más el de la profesora Pilar, me gustaría saber si realmente todo esto de saber si usarlo o no usarlo en el aula, de cuándo usarlo, de también incluyendo al cliente, depende del aspecto ético. Es decir, realmente todas las herramientas se pueden usar mal. Podemos usar mal DeepL, podemos usar mal ChatGPT, podemos usarlo para hacer trampas. Pero, ¿quién nos dice cómo se usa bien esta herramienta o si debemos seguir alguna guía? Por ejemplo, si yo estoy haciendo un trabajo, ¿debo citar que he usado inteligencia artificial o no? ¿Qué uso ético debo darle o qué debo seguir para saber si lo estoy usando correctamente?
Buena pregunta. Si utilizas un diccionario, lo pones abajo de la instrucción, le pones nota abajo de pie, utilizar este diccionario. Yo pregunto a mi madre. Pregunto a mi madre, ¿no? Vale, mira, hemos hecho, yo tengo un libro sobre teorías de la traducción, hemos hecho una traducción al francés con una profesora francesa en Australia. Y hemos utilizado phrase. ¿Por qué? Porque ella había traducido 4 capítulos de la edición anterior, yo he hecho una edición nueva, un trabajo de máster en Canadá, había hecho otro capítulo en francés. Entonces, había muchos datos, pero no había un texto coherente para el punto de partida. Ideal para la memoria de traducción, ¿no? Y en el libro publicado se pone ahí exactamente como lo hemos hecho. Transparencia. Pero yo recibo más comentarios sobre este advertencia, ¿cómo se llama? Que el libro en sí. Me molesta mucho que los franceses hablan más de la utilización de la tecnología y la transparencia que hemos dado que en el libro. E incluso Brian Mossop me ha escrito, Brian Mossop es experto de la revisión en Canadá y francófono y tal, y dice, este error en esta página solo era posible con la memoria de traducción. Y mira, has saltado aquí la secuencia, y porque estás a nivel de esto y no ves las cosas grandes, ¿no? Y tiene razón, toda la razón. Vale, no sé si es contestar, pero sí que lo hemos hecho y la transparencia es buena si es útil. Es útil, pero lo mismo que no se pone qué diccionario es utilizado, tampoco hay que poner con cada tecnología.
Vale, pero ¿cómo enseñas esa transparencia a los estudiantes, por ejemplo? A un estudiante que compite en nota quizá no es tan fácil porque tienen la misma herramienta, pero a lo mejor uno dice, bueno, pues yo prefiero mezclar, ¿no? Y hacerlo un poco de mi propia cosecha, y otro sencillamente lo pone como tal en la máquina y le sale un resultado muy bueno, y al final uno obtiene más nota que el otro. ¿Cómo buscas ahí la transparencia o a la hora de enseñarlo en el profesorado?
Okay.
¿Cómo nos lo enseñan?
Es buena pregunta para la pedagogía, ¿no? La respuesta fácil es etapas. Hay que subir tu texto original, tu texto después de revisión, tu texto después de prompt, y podemos ver exactamente lo que has hecho. No se debe hacer es prohibir la tecnología si en la empresa después tienen estas tecnologías y tienen que utilizarlas, ¿no? Hay que modificar las tareas, las tareas, sí. No se puede decir, solo traduce este texto. No, tiene que ser algo más que esto, o otro tipo de texto, adaptar otros scopos, por ejemplo. Vale, bueno, no sé si contesto muy bien. Hay un libro ahí con 57 actividades. Otras actividades que no son traducir A a B, porque esto ya hace la máquina. ¿Vale? Muy bien.
¿Una pregunta?
¿No? ¿Seguro? Ah, sí, siempre. No os hagáis tanto de rogar.
Bueno, primero, muchas gracias por la ponencia tan impresionante. Que a mí me llamó la atención un artículo suyo del 2023 aproximadamente, donde decía que hasta el 2000 aproximadamente, las estadísticas decían que los alumnos de traductores que terminaban la carrera, solamente el 30% más o menos, conseguían trabajo como traductores.
Sí.
Antes de la traducción generativa, ¿no? de generative AI.
Sí.
Pero realmente, ¿y no cambia mucho el porcentaje ahora o baja demasiado más con la perspectiva actual? Es decir, si antes estudiaba la gente traducción, a pesar de este porcentaje, ¿dejaría la gente de estudiar traducción o, según la última teoría o la última conclusión, de verdad desaparecerá la posición de traductor o the job offers of traductor as is? ¿No?
Vale, no lo sé. No, es demasiado reciente, porque con YouHow hemos buscado todas las encuestas de los empleos de los graduados de máster, ¿ok? De grado en algunos casos en Barcelona, pero de máster sobre todo. Y la conclusión es que en plan general, solo la tercera parte de los estudiantes trabajan como traductores o intérpretes, que es un baño de realidad, ¿no? Que significa que las habilidades son transversales y se utilizan en muchos. Es buena noticia, porque significa que hay empleo ahí, pero bueno, si hay menos empleo en traducción en sentido estricto, pues hay empleo en otra parte, ¿no? Bien, si es verdad, no lo sé, porque es demasiado reciente, hace falta ver 1 año, 2 años, 3 años después de la graduación. ¿Dónde van? Y bueno, a ver.
Thank you. Bueno, pregunto en español, como pregunta todo el mundo. Conectando con esa pregunta, algo que a mí me preocupa y que me han preguntado a veces los estudiantes, no es tanto que se reduzca la tasa de empleo, sino que se va a precarizar mucho el sector de la traducción. Como clientes, agencias de traducción, incluso empresas de traducción, exigen utilizar herramientas de traducción automática y de inteligencia artificial generativa, las tarifas acaban reduciéndose, se paga menos. Por tanto, bueno, yo no me dedico a la industria.
No veo causa-efecto. Yo veo que los precios bajan, pero no sé si la tecnología es la causa.
Bueno, supongo que el argumento es que como se hace más rápido, te pagan menos.
¿Por qué?
No, desde luego yo no lo comparto.
No sé por qué. Hay que vender la hora
de
expertise. ¿Qué es expertise? Like a lawyer. I'll send you 1 hour, billable hours, as lawyers say, of my expert time, and you will pay me that for my hour.
Yeah, that we don't pay for hour,
Así,
we take
la productividad, las ganancias de productividad van al traductor y no a la empresa. Si tú sigues cobrando por la palabra, claro que los beneficios van a la empresa.
Entonces, una solución puede ser cambiar la manera de facturar.
Por supuesto.
¿Sí? Bien, y
En la industria no lo gusto. Cuando digo esto, digo, no, esto no se hace. Hay que hacerlo.
Pero claro, podemos hacerlo. Es decir, tenemos realmente poder como colectivo para hacerlo, porque por lo menos en España no hay muchas asociaciones, no hay colegio de traductores.
No, el colegio no va a solucionar nada. Lo siento, no hay país en que una asociación o colegio imponga tarifas. No existe. No existe. ¿No? Incluso Australia, que tiene una ley que todas las traducciones tienen que hacerse por gente que ha pasado el examen estatal, esta ley no se cumple. No, es una empresa, es un negocio, es business. ¿No? Y tú vendes caro tu servicio porque vale mucho. ¿No?
Muchas gracias.
El Estado no te va a salvar.
Bueno, pues, ¿alguna otra pregunta? No, pues, bueno, yo creo que podemos dar por finalizada la sesión.
Thank you very much. Can I apologize for my Spanish, please? It's not my favorite language, but you make it.
No apologies needed. Thank you so much, Anthony. Thank you for your interesting conversation and debate with all of us.
Thank you for the invitation. Many thanks for the excellent questions. Okay. Good.